So hi guys, this is our yoga you can do laying down. It's actually one of the reasons why I love yoga. It is, you can lay down and do good things for yourself while you're laying down. And this next sequence that we're about to do, you can do this while you're laying in your bed, as long as your bed's fairly firm. If it's real soft and squishy, it may not work out all that well. But these are some poses you can do while you're laying in bed that are extremely beneficial for your low back, your arms, and for your hips. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's try a couple things. First, we're going to take our arms up over our head. So your thumbs are going to point down, your palms are going to face each other. We're going to take an inhale, and we're going to reach and stretch. And notice here that my knees are bent and my feet are flat. And I'm bringing my low back to the bed. And then we're going to take our arms back behind us. We're going to reach through our fingertips and reach and stretch and open up through our ribs and take a nice deep breath in. And then as we exhale, we're going to let the arms come down along our side. We're going to let our shoulders relax for a minute. We're going to take a breath in and down. Next inhale, go ahead and take the arms up over the bed. You might be thinking about doing this when you wake up in the morning. It's a nice gentle wake up. Reach through your fingertips and stretch. And then exhale, let the arms come down. And now this next one, we're going to get a little crazy, guys. We're going to take the arms up over the head. We can reach long through one of the legs just to see how that feels in the low back, and reach through our right heel. And then exhale, arms come down, foot comes down. Other side. Take the other leg nice and long, reach through the heel, reach through the fingertips, and then exhale, bring it down. And you guessed it, we're going to take the arms over the head, and very slowly we're going to slide our heels along the floor of the bed, and we're going to reach through our heels and through our fingertips, taking a nice deep breath in as we reach and stretch, thumbs pointed down, reaching through our heels, toes pointed up, and then exhale, let the arms come back down, and bring the feet back down flat. And now the next one, this is a very good one to do, especially if you have some low back stuff going on. We're going to take our arms out either to either side of us, or do goalpost or cactus arms. So whatever you have space for. And the feet, they don't have to touch, but they're pretty close together. We're going to take a breath in. And as we exhale, we're going to let our knees move over to the right-hand side. So here, the knees do not have to touch the bed or come to the floor. Just going to let them come over. We're going to feel the twist in the low back. And then inhale, let your knees come back up to center. Exhale, let the knees move over to the left-hand side. And remember, they only need to come down as far so that you just feel a stretch. So we're not trying to get them to touch the bed. We're not trying to get them to move over. Just a nice, gentle twisting motion from side to side. And you're kind of rocking along your low back tailbone area. The problem is we very rarely move our low back tailbone area unless something happens and we trip or we twist unexpectedly, and we end up hurting our back doing that. So this is a good way to keep those muscles soft and used to this little side to side, this twisting motion that we so very rarely do in our everyday life. So one more time to each side. And for my peeps that might want a little core work here, if you pull your belly button down into your spine, and you kind of pull that belly button in a little bit more as your knees come up, you get a little bit of core stuff here. But other than that, right now we're going to keep it a little easy and breezy and just let the knees go from side to side. And then let the knees come back up. And we're going to bring our right knee into our chest, and we're going to hold down a little bit lower on our shin. And if grabbing your shin right here is not going to work for you, you can take your hand underneath your thigh and pull the knee in nice and close. Give it a nice squeeze in. Kind of squish your belly down just a little bit with the thigh. And then let that right leg come down. And then bring your left leg into your chest, holding on underneath your thigh, pulling it in nice and close, giving a nice squeeze in. And then let that leg come down. And we're going to bring that right leg back into the chest. And now if it feels okay, go ahead, lift up your left toes and slide that left foot down along the ground, reaching and stretching, making sure that it feels okay for your low back. And then reach and stretch. And then we're going to switch out to the sides. Right foot down, left knee comes into the chest, squeeze it nice and in. You're going to hold on either underneath the thigh or on top of the shin, whatever feels best. And go ahead and reach and stretch through the other leg, just not on top of your knee. And then we're going to bring both knees into the chest. Give them a little squeeze in. And we're going to let the knees move back out over our hips. And we're going to draw little circles with our knees, massaging our low back and tailbone area. And notice your breathing here. Make sure that you're not holding your breath, and that you're taking nice, slow, deep breaths. And then let's make those knees go around in the opposite direction. You can let your hands guide your legs if you need a little more guidance here. And then let the feet come down. Let your arms come back out to the side. One more time, side to side, nice and slow with the knees, seeing if you have any more space. Maybe the knees get a little closer to the bed if they didn't get that far before. Maybe they don't, but that's okay. Just kind of allowing the low back to twist and move. And then let the arms come down along either side of you. You can widen your feet here so they're about hip distance. And hip distance means the outside of your feet lining up with the outside of your hips. That usually means you have about enough space for 2 fists. So you want to make sure your feet aren't touching and they're not supposed to be real wide either. You can take a peek at your knees. Your knees should be real wide here. Your arms are going to come down along either side of you, and we're going to do just what's a couple of called pelvic tilts. So make sure your ankles are either close enough that maybe if your fingers were a couple inches longer, you can touch your ankles. They don't have to be right up on your bum. You want a little space. And here we're going to do what's called a couple pelvic tilts. So that curve you have in your low back, you're going to tilt your pelvis and smush the curve of your low back. And then as you inhale, you're going to let that curve come back. As you exhale, you're going to tilt the pelvis and bring your low back down to the floor or to the bed. And then inhale, come back up. Exhale, tilt and bring it down. Inhale, up. Exhale, tilt. And if you want a little extra core stuff here, you can pull the belly button down as you do that little pelvic tilt. So it's not a big movement. Your hips are staying down. You're just kind of taking the curve in and out of your low back. So just a few of those. And again, stretching and using some of the muscles in our low back that we don't normally use. And then we're going to come back to that neutral spine where the curve's up. We're going to let our arms come down along either side of us. We're going to bring that curve back into our low back and smush it back down to the ground. Pull the belly button and smush the curve in your back down. And then we're going to take an inhale, and we're going to lift up our hips and come into bridge pose. We're lifting through the tops of the thighs. We're lifting through the hips. You don't have to come up super high, just as far as you can. And then as we exhale, we come back down. And the last thing that touches down is the tailbone. So we're going to go ahead and do that 2 more times. So pelvic tilt, low back to the ground. Inhale, the hips lift up off the ground. We push gently into the feet to lift up a little higher. We push and lift up with our chest. We lift up with the tops of our thighs. And maybe we push down with our heels to get a little more height. And then exhale, come on back down. And if you start to do anything that I suggest and it doesn't feel quite as good as what you were already doing, go ahead and do what you were already doing. You know your body best. Inhale, lift, take a deep breath in. And then exhale, come on back down, nice and slow. Let your shoulders relax. We're going to take our arms out away from the body a slight bit. Palms are going to turn face up. And we're going to widen our feet out here. So they come out to a lot wider than your hips. And you want them fairly wide. So if you know about the width of a yoga mat, about that wide. And we're going to let the knees go from side to side. And then inhale, come on back up. And then exhale over to the other side. And these are not to be done. You are not windshield wiping. You are exhaling, letting the knees relax and come down. And you get a nice stretch through the tops of your thighs up into your torso. And then inhale back up. Exhale and pause to the side. Inhale back up. And let's do one more time to each side unless that feels really, really good. Which states you can do a few more times to each side. And then we're going to come back up. We're going to bring our feet back to that hip distance. We're going to take our right foot over our left ankle. And if this isn't comfortable for you, you're welcome to cross your ankles here. But if this is comfortable right here, we're going to go ahead and just rock our hips back and forth. Get massaging that tailbone, low back area. This should feel nice. Make sure you're still breathing here, taking nice, slow, gentle breaths. this needs to have a little more intensity for you here, if you want this to be a little more of an intense stretch, you can simply bring your left thigh in a little bit closer to you, and then perform that rocking back and forth here. And I want you to try to keep your arms and shoulders relaxed. You shouldn't be craning to lift up and reach. You just kind of want to relax the arms and shoulders and let the legs and the hips do their thing. So a few more rocks here. And if it felt better with your foot down, leave your foot down. And remember, each side is going to feel its own way, so do what feels best for you on either side. So now we're going to go ahead and cross the ankle over this way. And we're going to go ahead and rock back and forth. And if you'd like to lift your foot up here, you can lift your foot up, and if you have a yoga block or a pillow, which I don't seem to have mine here, you can always put your foot right up on top of a block and rock the foot back and forth and the leg back and forth like this. You can decide how much or how little you want to bring your knee in towards your chest and how intense or not intense you want the stretch to be. Make sure you continue to breathe and just enjoy that nice massage to your low back and tailbone area. And then when you're all done with that, go ahead and uncross the leg, bring the feet down. We're going to bring the knees back into the chest. Hold on, not on top of your knees, but lower down on your shins if you can. If you can't reach there, then hold on underneath your thighs. Hold on wherever it's comfortable. Take a breath in, squeeze them in. Maybe if it feels all right here, go ahead and point the soles of your feet up toward the ceiling. Maybe reach for your toes. Let your toes reach for your fingers. Take a breath in and out. Let your knees come down. Give them one more squeeze into your belly. And this pose is called releasing wind. If you release wind, that's okay. And let your feet come down. And we're going to roll on over to our side. We're going to take our hand. We're going to push up to our seat. And hopefully if that was your good morning, if that's what you used to wake up this morning, that was good for you. It was good for me. Take a nice deep breath here. Exhale, hands to the heart. We touch our minds and our hearts, and we say,